Thousands of years ago, civilizations rose and fell, leaving behind more than just crumbling ruins. They left us mysteries so profound, so puzzling, that even today, with all our modern technology and knowledge, we still can't fully unravel them. Think about that for a moment. The ancient world was filled with minds just as brilliant as ours, perhaps even more so in ways we don't yet understand. They built structures that defy logic, crafted artifacts with impossible precision, and vanished without a trace, leaving behind clues that whisper of lost knowledge. What were they trying to tell us, and why do their greatest secrets still elude us? Take the Great Pyramid of Giza, for example. This colossal structure, built over 4,500 years ago, aligns with astronomical precision so exact that modern engineers struggle to replicate it. How did they do it without lasers or satellites? Or consider the legend of Atlantis, a city said to have vanished beneath the waves in a single day. Was it a myth? Or is there a grain of truth buried beneath the ocean floor? These aren't just stories, they're enigmas that have captivated explorers, scientists, and dreamers for centuries. And they're just the beginning. In this video, we're diving deep into the 25 greatest mysteries of the ancient world. Puzzles so baffling, they'll make you question everything you thought you knew about history. From cryptic monuments to vanished civilizations, from unexplained artifacts to prophecies that came true against all odds, we'll explore the questions that keep historians up at night. This isn't just a journey through time. It's a detective story, one where you're invited to piece together the clues alongside us. So, if you've ever wondered what secrets lie buried in the sands of time, or if you've ever felt the thrill of standing on the edge of the unknown, you're in the right place. Let's uncover the truths hidden in the shadows of history together. The Great Pyramid of Giza has stood for millennia as a testament to human ingenuity. But even after centuries of study, it still guards secrets beneath its massive stone layers. In recent years, cutting-edge technology called muon radiography, a technique that uses cosmic rays to peer through solid rock, revealed something astonishing: hidden voids deep within the pyramid's structure. These mysterious chambers, one nearly 100 feet long, lie undiscovered for over 4,500 years. What could they contain? Some speculate they might hold lost treasures or even the burial chamber of a forgotten pharaoh, while others suggest they were part of the pyramid's construction process, perhaps serving as internal ramps or pressure relief spaces to stabilize the monument. But here's what makes this discovery so controversial. Egyptologists are sharply divided. If these voids were meant to house treasures, why has no entrance or corridor been found leading to them? And if they were purely structural, why are they positioned so precisely, mirroring the pyramid's known passageways? The scans show these chambers aren't random gaps, they're deliberate, carefully placed features. Could they be undiscovered ritual spaces, sealed away for reasons we no longer understand? Adding to the intrigue, the largest void sits directly above the Grand Gallery, the pyramid's most elaborate interior passage. Some researchers believe it might connect to hidden shafts, possibly even leading to chambers deeper within the pyramid. But without physical exploration, these theories remain just that, theories. The Egyptian authorities have been cautious, reluctant to drill into the ancient stones for fear of damaging this priceless monument. So the debate rages on. Are we on the verge of uncovering one of history's greatest lost treasures, or are these simply architectural quirks, the unseen mechanics of a building process we still don't fully grasp? The Great Pyramid isn't done revealing its secrets, and that's what makes it one of the most enduring mysteries of the ancient world. High in the arid plains of southern Peru, an even bigger mystery sprawls across the desert, the Nazca Lines. These enormous geoglyphs, some stretching over 600 feet, depict animals, plants, and geometric shapes so vast they can only be fully appreciated from the air. Carved into the earth between 2,000 and 1,500 years ago, their purpose remains one of archaeology's greatest riddles. Why would a civilization with no known flying technology create art meant to be seen from above? Astronomers suggest the lines might have functioned as a celestial calendar, aligning with the sun, moon, and stars to mark seasons or religious events. Some of the figures, like the famous hummingbird and spider, seem to correspond with constellations visible in the Nazca night sky. But skeptics argue these connections could be coincidental after all. The desert is vast and the stars move in predictable patterns. Could there be another explanation? Then there are the more daring theories. Some researchers propose the lines were sacred pathways, walked during rituals to commune with the gods. Others speculate they might have been messages not to humans but to beings in the sky. The idea of ancient alien communication captures the imagination, but without concrete evidence, it remains a tantalizing what if. Recent discoveries have only deepened the puzzle. Using drones, archaeologists have uncovered dozens of previously unknown lines, some hidden for centuries under layers of dust and erosion. These fragile designs, exposed by wind and human activity, are vanishing faster than we can study them. Time is running out to decode their secrets. What's most striking is the precision behind these creations. The Nazca people used simple tools and careful measurements to etch figures with near mathematical accuracy despite their colossal scale. How did they maintain such perfect proportions without modern technology? And why invest so much effort into art that, at least to them, would have been nearly impossible to see in its entirety? The Nazca Lines remind us that ancient civilizations often saw the world differently than we do. Their motives, their knowledge, even their relationship with the landscape might hold clues we're only beginning to grasp. Every new line discovered is another piece of the puzzle, one that might rewrite history if we can just decipher it in time. Buried in the vaults of Yale University lies a book so strange, so utterly perplexing, that it's been called the most mysterious manuscript in the world, the Voynich Manuscript. Dating back to the 15th century, this fragile tome is filled with 240 pages of handwritten text in a script unlike anything ever seen before. Not a single word of it has ever been deciphered. The letters flow in an elegant but alien hand, arranged in patterns that hint at grammar and meaning, yet no linguist, historian, or cryptographer has ever cracked its code. What makes the manuscript even more baffling are its illustrations. Vibrant, intricate drawings spill across the pages, plants with no known earthly counterparts, bizarre astronomical charts featuring unfamiliar constellations, and nude figures bathing in what appears to be a network of interconnected green pools. Some pages fold out into elaborate diagrams resembling biological or perhaps alchemical processes, but their true purpose remains a mystery. Who created this? And why go to such lengths to document knowledge in a language no one can read? The best minds of the 20th century tried and failed to solve it. Teams of World War II codebreakers, fresh from cracking Nazi ciphers, turned their skills to the Voynich and came up empty. Modern supercomputers and artificial intelligence have analyzed every curve and stroke of its text, running millions of linguistic and statistical models only to hit the same dead end. The patterns don't match any known language, living or dead. Some letters repeat in ways that suggest poetry or incantations, while others follow rhythms that defy categorization. Theories abound, of course. Could it be an elaborate Renaissance-era hoax crafted to dupe some wealthy patron? The precision and consistency of the script make that unlikely. Forging a fake language so coherent would be a feat beyond even the cleverest con artist of the time. Others propose it's a lost language, perhaps the sole surviving record of a forgotten culture. Then there's the more tantalizing idea that it's written in coded form, hiding revolutionary scientific or esoteric knowledge too dangerous to be shared openly. One of the most compelling clues comes from its parchment. Carbon dating places the book's creation between 1404 and 1438, and the ink matches recipes from that era. But the plants, none match known species, leading some to speculate they're either extinct, fantastical, or from another world entirely. The zodiac-style illustrations only deepen the enigma. They include signs we recognize but arranged in unfamiliar ways, as if mapped for a sky no human has ever seen. For now, the Voynich Manuscript keeps its secrets locked away behind swirls of ink and centuries of silence. It's a puzzle that refuses to be solved, a whisper from the past that we can't quite hear. And that's what makes it irresistible, the possibility that somewhere in those cryptic pages lies knowledge that could rewrite history, if only we could understand it. At the bottom of the Aegean Sea, encrusted in the wreckage of a sunken Roman ship, divers discovered an object that shouldn't have existed not 2,000 years ago. The Antikythera Mechanism, a corroded bronze device no bigger than a shoebox, turned out to be the world's first analog computer. When scientists finally peeled back the layers of decay, they found a labyrinth of interlocking gears so precise, so sophisticated, that nothing like it would appear again until the mechanical clocks of the 14th century. This wasn't just a tool, it was a masterpiece of engineering capable of predicting lunar eclipses, tracking the cycles of the Olympic Games, and charting the movements of the 5 known planets with staggering accuracy. How could ancient Greeks have built something so advanced centuries before the fall of Rome, let alone the rise of modern astronomy? The mechanism's inner workings reveal a mind-bending level of expertise. Tiny gear teeth, some as thin as a fingernail, mesh together in ratios that mirror the irregular orbits of celestial bodies. One gear even accounts for the moon's elliptical path, a subtlety medieval astronomers wouldn't grasp for another 1,000 years. Researchers using 3-dimensional imaging have reconstructed its design, revealing dials and inscriptions that functioned like an ancient user manual. But here's the chilling part: the original creator's name is lost to history. No records mention this device, no other examples have ever been found. It's as if the Antikythera Mechanism fell through time from a more advanced civilization. That absence has fueled endless speculation. Could it have been designed by Archimedes himself? Ancient texts describe him building planetariums, but none survive. Others propose it was salvaged from the legendary Library of Alexandria, a repository of knowledge burned to ashes. Then there's the more radical theory that the device's precision implies knowledge beyond the ancient world. The gear ratios align with Babylonian eclipse records, hinting at a cross-cultural exchange of science we've barely begun to understand, or, as some fringe researchers suggest, outside intervention. Yet the most compelling clue might be the mechanism's imperfections. Recent studies show slight errors in its eclipse predictions, suggesting its creators were still refining their understanding of celestial mechanics. This wasn't magic. It was the work of human genius, a testament to what the ancient world could achieve when intellect and ambition collided. The Antikythera Mechanism forces us to rewrite history, not because it's alien, but because it proves our ancestors were far closer to the stars than we ever imagined. Standing silently on the windswept Salisbury Plain, Stonehenge has baffled archaeologists for generations. This ring of towering stones, some weighing as much as 25 tons, was dragged over 150 miles from the distant Preseli Hills in Wales, an astonishing feat for Neolithic builders over 4,500 years ago. How did they move these colossal bluestones without wheels, without draft animals, without metal tools? Theories range from sledges greased with animal fat to elaborate systems of wooden rollers, but recent experiments suggest something even more ingenious. Volunteers attempting to replicate the journey found that placing the stones on a track of felled logs allowed small teams to pivot and slide them with surprising efficiency. Yet even this explanation leaves gaps. The path would have crossed rivers, marshes, and rough terrain obstacles that make the achievement seem almost supernatural. But moving the stones was only half the challenge. arranging them with such precision that they align perfectly with the summer and winter solstices required knowledge of astronomy far beyond what we typically attribute to ancient farmers. On the longest day of the year, the rising sun pierces the heart of Stonehenge, casting a blade of light between the central pillars. On the shortest day, the sunset aligns with another key gap in the stones. This wasn't random, it was a deliberate, carefully calculated design, a celestial clock carved in stone. Was it a temple for sun worship, a colossal calendar to mark planting seasons? Or something even more profound? Recent discoveries have added another layer to the mystery. Acoustic experiments reveal that the stones possess unique sound properties. When struck, the blue stones produce a deep, resonant clangor, unlike any other rock in the region. Some researchers believe Stonehenge might have been a Neolithic sound chamber, where rituals involved rhythmic drumming or chanting that reverberated through the circle, creating an otherworldly auditory experience. Could sound have been the key to its purpose, a way to commune with the spirits or alter consciousness during ceremonies? Then there's the theory of healing. Ancient legends speak of the blue stone's curative powers, and archaeological evidence shows that many early visitors came bearing injuries or illnesses. Chips of the stone have been found at burial sites far from Stonehenge, as if carried away as talismans. Was this place a destination for the sick, a prehistoric Lourdes where the stones themselves were believed to hold life-giving energy? Perhaps the truth lies in all these ideas, a site where astronomy, acoustics, and spirituality converged. What's undeniable is that Stonehenge wasn't built in isolation. Similar stone circles dot the landscape across Britain and Europe, hinting at a shared cultural knowledge we've only begun to decode. Every chisel mark, every alignment, every weathered groove in the stone whispers of a sophistication we're still struggling to hear. And that's what makes Stonehenge more than just a pile of rocks. It's a riddle carved in stone, waiting for us to listen. For more than 2,000 years, the legend of Atlantis has captured imaginations like no other ancient mystery. It all began with two dialogues written by the Greek philosopher Plato, Timaeus and Critias, where he describes a powerful island civilization that vanished beneath the waves in a single day and night of misfortune. According to Plato, Atlantis was an advanced society brimming with wealth and military might, its concentric rings of land and water glittering with gold-coated temples. Then, as punishment for its hubris, the gods sank it into the ocean. But here's the twist: Plato insisted his account was true, passed down through generations from Egyptian priests. So was this a cautionary tale, or could it have been rooted in a real disaster? One leading theory points to the volcanic island of Santorini. Around 1600 BCE, a cataclysmic eruption obliterated the Minoan settlement of Akrotiri, sending tsunamis racing across the Mediterranean. The destruction lines up eerily with Plato's timeline. If you account for a potential dating error in ancient records, Santorini's excavated ruins reveal a sophisticated culture with multi-story buildings, intricate frescoes, and plumbing systems, much like Atlantis's described grandeur. But there's a catch. Plato placed Atlantis beyond the Pillars of Hercules, widely believed to be the Strait of Gibraltar. Santorini sits firmly inside the Mediterranean, leaving scholars divided over whether this could truly be the inspiration. Then there's Doggerland, a vast, now submerged landmass that once connected Britain to mainland Europe. Until roughly 6,500 years ago, this fertile plain was home to Mesolithic hunter-gatherers until rising seas swallowed it. While it lacks the Bronze Age opulence of Atlantis, its sudden flooding fits Plato's narrative of a civilization lost to water. Recent underwater archaeology has uncovered tools, burial sites, and even potential megalithic structures on the seabed, proof that advanced societies did vanish beneath rising tides. Could oral histories of Doggerland's demise have survived for millennia, morphing into the Atlantis myth by Plato's time? The debate grows even murkier when you consider other candidates. The Richat structure in Mauritania, a natural geological formation resembling Pluto's concentric rings, has sparked theories about a misremembered location. Others argue Atlantis was purely allegorical, a literary device Plato used to critique Athenian imperialism. After all, his dialogues often blended fact and fiction to make philosophical points. Yet the persistence of flood myths worldwide, from the Mesopotamian epic of Gilgamesh to indigenous Australian stories, suggests humanity might indeed be grappling with collective memories of ancient catastrophes. What keeps Atlantis alive in modern searches isn't just the allure of discovery. It's the lingering question of how much truth hides within myth. Every sonar sweep of the ocean floor, every sediment core pulled from the seabed, brings us closer to understanding whether Plato's lost city was prophecy, warning, or a ghost of history whispering beneath the waves. Until then, Atlantis remains the ultimate Rorschach test of archaeology, a mirror reflecting what each era hopes to find in the depths of time. Deep in the basement of the National Museum of Iraq sits a collection of unassuming clay jars, small, yellowish vessels no taller than a hand's length. But these artifacts, dating back to the Parthian Empire around 2,000 years ago, might just rewrite the history of technology. Each jar contains a copper cylinder housing an iron rod sealed with asphalt. When filled with an acidic liquid like vinegar or grape juice, something remarkable happens. The setup generates a small but measurable electric current. Could these really be ancient batteries? The Baghdad battery, as it's now known, has sparked fierce debate since its discovery in the 1930s. Some researchers argue it was used for electroplating, depositing thin layers of gold or silver onto objects, a technique that would require precisely the kind of low-voltage current these jars produced. Experiments using replicas have successfully gilded small items, lending credibility to the theory. Imagine a craftsman in a Parthian workshop, dipping a necklace into a solution, watching as a shimmering veneer of gold forms under the hum of an electrical reaction centuries before Galvani or Volta. But not everyone is convinced. Skeptics point out the lack of wires or conductors in the archaeological record. If these were batteries, where's the rest of the circuit? Others suggest the jars might have held sacred scrolls, with the iron and copper acting as protective casings for precious texts. The asphalt seal could have simply kept moisture out, not electrolyte in. Without explicit documentation, something incredibly rare for ancient technologies, we're left piecing together clues like detectives at a 2,000-year-old crime scene. Here's where things get even more intriguing. In the ruins of Seleucia, not far from where the batteries were found, archaeologists uncovered silver-coated artifacts with plating so fine, it defies explanation by traditional gilding methods. Coincidence, maybe, but when you layer in ancient accounts of magical, glowing gems or temple rituals involving mysterious force, it's hard not to wonder if electricity played a forgotten role in early science. What's undeniable is the ingenuity behind these jars. Whether they powered workshops or preserved scrolls, their design reveals a sophisticated understanding of materials. The copper-iron pairing wasn't random. It's a classic electrochemical combination still used in modern batteries. The asphalt, resistant to corrosion, hints at meticulous experimentation. Even if we never prove their true purpose, the Baghdad battery stands as a testament to the curiosity and innovation of the ancient world. A reminder that history's firsts might still be buried, waiting for us to reconnect the wires. On a remote island in the Pacific, standing like silent sentinels against the wind, the Moai of Easter Island tell a story of triumph and tragedy. These towering stone figures, some weighing over 80 tons and standing 30 feet tall, were carved and transported across miles of rugged terrain by the Rapa Nui people, without wheels, without draft animals, without metal tools. How did a society with such limited technology achieve something so extraordinary? The answer might lie in a combination of ingenuity, teamwork, and something unexpected: walking. Recent experiments suggest the statues could have been moved upright, rocked side to side like a refrigerator being inched across a floor. By tying ropes around the massive heads and using teams to pull in a rhythmic motion, researchers demonstrated that even the heaviest Moai could walk short distances each day. This theory aligns with local oral traditions, which describe the statues moving with a swaying gait, as if animated by some unseen force. But here's the catch. This method would have required an enormous amount of coordinated labor and timber to create stable pathways. Which brings us to Easter Island's darker mystery, the ecological collapse that may have doomed its people. For centuries, the island was covered in lush palm forests, providing the perfect material for ropes, sledges, and rollers to transport the Moai. But as the population grew and statue building intensified, the trees vanished. Pollen samples tell a grim story. By the 17th century, the last palms had been cut down, leaving the island barren. Without wood, the Rapa Nui couldn't build fishing canoes, leading to food shortages. The very culture that created these marvels may have been undone by them. Yet new discoveries complicate this narrative. Archaeologists scanning beneath the ground made a startling find. Many of the Moai aren't just heads, they're full-bodied figures, buried up to their shoulders in sediment over centuries. Excavations reveal intricate carvings on their torsos, hidden symbols that might hold clues to their purpose. Some researchers argue the statues weren't just monuments but protectors, their backs turned to the sea as if guarding the island's people from outside threats. Others believe they represented ancestral chiefs, their massive forms serving as conduits between the living and the dead. Today, the question isn't just how the Moai were moved, but why. Were they a celebration of human achievement or a warning about its costs? Easter Island's story is a microcosm of humanity's relationship with nature, a reminder that even the greatest civilizations must balance ambition with survival. As we stare into the hollow eyes of these ancient giants, we're left wondering, if they could speak, what lessons would they share with our own world? The Bermuda Triangle has long been a magnet for modern myth, ships and planes vanishing without a trace, compasses spinning wildly, radios falling silent. But what if the roots of this mystery stretch back further than we ever imagined? Christopher Columbus himself might have been one of the first to document the triangle's eerie phenomena. In his logs from 1492, as his ships entered the area between Florida, Puerto Rico, and Bermuda, he described a compass needle veering wildly from true north, glowing orbs dancing above the water, and a strange white water churning the sea. These accounts take on new significance when paired with modern science. Researchers now suspect massive methane hydrate deposits, frozen gas trapped beneath the ocean floor, might explain some of the triangle's notorious disappearances. When these hydrates destabilize, they can erupt violently, releasing colossal bubbles that reduce water density so drastically, ships lose buoyancy and sink within seconds. Laboratory experiments show this process could capsize even large vessels. As for planes, methane erupting into the air could ignite or disrupt engine combustion mid-flight. It's a sobering theory, but one that aligns with survivor accounts of sudden fog or explosions with no visible cause. Yet the triangle's magnetic anomalies remain equally puzzling. Earth's magnetic field isn't uniform, it has subtle dips and variations, and the Bermuda Triangle sits near one of these fluctuations. Navigators passing through rely on compass adjustments to compensate, something Columbus lacked. Could his dancing compass have been an early encounter with this phenomenon? Modern pilots still report intermittent instrument glitches here, though advanced GPS has reduced the danger. But here's the twist. Statistical analyses reveal the Bermuda Triangle isn't actually deadlier than other heavily trafficked ocean regions. Insurance records show no spike in losses here, and many mysterious disappearances have logical explanations: human error, extreme weather, or mechanical failure. The myth persists partly because sensational cases like Flight 19 in 1945, a squadron of bombers that vanished during training became cultural touchstones amplified by folklore and fiction. So why does the legend endure? Perhaps because it taps into something primal, the fear of the unknown, the sense that some corners of our mapped world still defy understanding. Whether through methane vents, magnetic quirks, or sheer bad luck, the Bermuda Triangle reminds us that the ocean keeps secrets even in our age of satellites and sonar. And sometimes the most enduring mysteries aren't about what's truly unexplained, but what we choose to believe. Hidden in the caves near the Dead Sea for 2,000 years, a collection of fragile parchment fragments would shake the foundations of biblical scholarship, the Dead Sea Scrolls. Discovered by a Bedouin shepherd in 1947, these texts include some of the oldest known copies of Hebrew scriptures, predating previously known manuscripts by nearly a millennium. But what's truly startling isn't just their age. It's how much they differ from the religious texts we know today. Passages in these scrolls contain wording variations, entire sections missing from later versions, and even books excluded from the modern Bible altogether. Who wrote them, and why do some of these documents remain locked away, inaccessible to scholars? Most researchers point to a reclusive Jewish sect called the Essenes as the likely authors. Ancient historians describe this group living in the desert, practicing communal ownership, and meticulously copying sacred texts. The scrolls' discovery near their suspected settlement at Qumran seems to confirm this. But the Essenes weren't just scribes, they were radicals. Some scrolls outline a bitterly divided worldview, depicting a cosmic battle between the sons of light and sons of darkness, with the Essenes portraying themselves as God's chosen remnant. Other texts detail rituals and purity laws so strict they would have alienated mainstream Judaism. Could these have been the teachings of a splinter group, preserving beliefs deemed too extreme for the temple in Jerusalem? Then there's the Copper Scroll, an anomaly among the finds. Unlike the others inscribed on parchment, this document lists 64 locations where staggering quantities of gold, silver, and priestly vestments were supposedly hidden. Some dismiss it as legend, while others believe it could reference the lost treasures of the Second Temple. But the real controversy lies in what we haven't seen. Portions of the scrolls, rumored to be held in Vatican archives, remain unpublished. Critics argue these withheld texts might challenge orthodox interpretations of Scripture, while institutions cite preservation concerns and the painstaking process of restoration. What makes the Dead Sea Scrolls so revolutionary is how they reveal the Bible not as a fixed, unchanging document, but as a living tradition, edited, debated, and reshaped across generations. Every variation, every disputed passage forces us to ask, how much of what we consider sacred is the product of human hands, decisions made by scribes and councils centuries after these words were first written? The scrolls don't just belong to historians or theologians. They're fragments of a conversation about faith, power, and who gets to decide what endures. And that's a mystery far bigger than any cave in Qumran. Beneath the quiet villages of Zhejiang province in China lies an underground labyrinth so precise, so methodically carved that it defies belief, the Longyu Caves. Discovered in 1992 when a local farmer drained a pond and uncovered steps leading into the darkness, these 24 hand-carved caverns stretch across 30,000 square meters, their walls covered in uniform chisel marks that resemble the scales of a fish. Every surface, walls, ceilings, even supporting pillars bears these exact parallel grooves, as if sculpted by a single mind with an obsessive eye for symmetry. The caves date back at least 2,000 years, yet no historical record mentions their construction. Who carved them, and why would anyone invest such staggering effort into hollowing out mountains with nothing but Bronze Age tools? The precision is almost unsettling. Despite their massive size, some chambers reach heights of 30 meters. The angles between walls and floors deviate by less than a centimeter across entire halls. Even more baffling is the absence of soot marks. Without evidence of torches or oil lamps, how did workers see in the pitch-black depths? Some theorists suggest reflective surfaces might have redirected sunlight deep into the tunnels, though no such mirrors have been found. Others propose bioluminescent fungi or firefly lanterns, but these remain speculative. The most striking detail lies in the wall's acoustics. Certain chambers amplify whispers with eerie clarity, leading experts to speculate whether sound played a role in guiding the diggers through the darkness. Then there's the mystery of purpose. The lack of artifacts or human remains rules out tombs or dwellings. The sheer volume of removed stone, nearly 1 million cubic meters, suggests mining, but the uniform carvings seem too deliberate for mere resource extraction. Could they have been imperial storage bunkers, a hidden military complex? One radical theory posits they were ceremonial spaces, designed to mimic the cosmological beliefs of the ancient people, with the scaled walls representing mythological serpents or water deities. Supporting this, local legends speak of a subterranean city of dragons linked to an ancient king's lost kingdom. Modern engineers have tried to replicate the cave's construction using period-appropriate tools and failed spectacularly. The logistics of removing rubble, maintaining structural integrity, and coordinating teams in darkness would have required knowledge we still don't attribute to that era. Even more perplexing, why go to such lengths only to abandon the caves without a trace? Unlike Egypt's pyramids or Rome's aqueducts, the Longyou caves left no cultural footprint, no descendants claiming their legacy. They're a void in history, as enigmatic as the unbroken shadows that once filled them. Standing in those silent halls, you're left with one chilling thought. Whatever their purpose, their builders wanted them to last and to keep their secrets even longer. In 1513, an Ottoman admiral named Piri Reis compiled a world map so shockingly accurate that it defies everything we know about 16th century cartography. The surviving fragment, barely the size of a tablecloth, depicts coastlines with eerie precision, including what appears to be Antarctica's northern shores. But here's what makes this impossible. Antarctica was officially discovered in 1820, 3 centuries later, and its landmass has been buried under ice for at least 6,000 years. How could a map from the Age of Sail show a continent no human had supposedly seen since the last ice age? The map's annotations offer a tantalizing clue. Piri Reis wrote that he drew from 20 older sources, including charts dating back to Alexander the Great's era. Some researchers believe these lost references might preserve knowledge from an advanced seafaring civilization, perhaps the same culture that Plato hinted at with Atlantis. The map's rendering of South America's coastline, down to the Amazon's unexpected eastward bulge, aligns uncannily with modern satellite data. Even more startling, the Antarctic section shows rivers and mountains where today there's only ice. Could this be a snapshot of the continent during a prehistoric warm period, preserved in forgotten archives? Not everyone's convinced. Skeptics argue the Antarctica on the map might just be a distorted South America, a common error in early cartography where landmasses were stretched or duplicated. They point to a telltale quirk, the absence of the Drake Passage, the critical stretch of ocean between South America and Antarctica. If Reis had true knowledge of Antarctica, wouldn't he have shown this gap? Others allege the map is a later forgery, though rigorous ink and parchment analyses confirm its early 16th century origins. Then there's the theory of accidental accuracy. Some coastlines on the Piri Reis map bear a striking resemblance to Antarctica's subglacial topography, features invisible beneath miles of ice until modern radar mapping revealed them. Is it possible Reis's ancient sources included speculative geography that, by sheer luck, matched reality? Or does this imply someone, thousands of years before us, had technology to peer beneath glaciers? The debate rages because the stakes are high. If the Piri Reis map truly encodes ancient Antarctic knowledge, it rewrites human history, suggesting a global network of explorers or civilizations far older than we've imagined. But until we uncover those 20 lost source maps, this parchment remains a maddening riddle, equal parts brilliance, mystery, and the ghost of a world that might have been. High above the city of Cusco, Peru, the fortress of Sacsayhuaman looms with walls built from stones so precisely fitted, not even a razor blade can slide between them. These colossal blocks, some weighing over 120 tons, curve and interlock like an ancient jigsaw puzzle, with edges so smooth they appear melted together. How did the Inca, or perhaps a far older civilization, achieve this mind-bending precision without iron tools, mortar, or even the wheel? The answer might lie in a forgotten technology so advanced it borders on alchemy. One of the most debated theories involves the supposed softening of stone. Indigenous legends speak of a plant extract that could temporarily liquefy rock, allowing builders to mold it like clay before it hardened again. Spanish chroniclers recorded accounts of a mysterious liquid applied to stones, making them pliable. Even more intriguing, modern scientists have discovered certain organic compounds like those found in local plants can indeed weaken sandstone's molecular bonds when combined with heat. Could the Inca have stumbled upon a botanical formula lost to time? Skeptics point out there's no direct evidence, but the theory gains traction when you examine the stone's surfaces. Some blocks bear peculiar undulations resembling handprints or fingerprints, as if someone kneaded the rock like dough. Then there's the enigma of acoustic levitation. Andean oral traditions describe rituals where shamans used sound to lift massive objects, and the site's acoustics are uncanny. At certain points, clapping or chanting produces echoes that reverberate with unnatural clarity. Researchers experimenting with harmonic frequencies have demonstrated how sound waves can counteract gravity's pull on small objects, but scaling this to multi-ton stones remains speculative. Yet the wall's curvature isn't random. Each concave indentation mirrors the convex bulge of the neighboring block, creating a self-bracing pattern that's withstood earthquakes for centuries. This isn't just craftsmanship, it's a masterclass in seismic engineering. Modern attempts to replicate the technique have ended in frustration. Teams using ropes, ramps, and brute force can't match the precision, let alone explain how the builders transported granite from quarries miles away. The stone's edges aren't just cut, they're polished to a degree that suggests tools far beyond simple bronze chisels. Some corners interlock at angles that require mathematical knowledge the Inca weren't credited with, leading a few researchers to propose an even wilder idea, that Sacsayhuaman's oldest layers predate the Inca entirely, remnants of a lost culture with skills we've yet to comprehend. What's undeniable is the purpose behind these walls. Unlike fortresses built for war, Sacsayhuaman's zigzagging ramparts mirror the constellation of the Pleiades, sacred to Andean cosmology. The stones themselves might be more than just architecture. They could be a celestial map, a spiritual barrier, or even a vibrational conduit designed to harness energies we no longer understand. Every seamless joint, every gravity-defying curve whispers the same haunting question. If this was possible thousands of years ago, what else did they know that we've forgotten? Buried beneath the shifting sands of China's Taklamakan Desert lie bodies that shouldn't be there: tall, fair-haired men and women with European features, dressed in woven woolens and leather boots, their faces eerily preserved by the arid climate. These are the Tarim mummies, dating back over 4,000 years, and their very existence appends our understanding of ancient migration. How did people with unmistakably Caucasian features end up in the heart of Asia centuries before the Silk Road? Genetic testing reveals an even more startling truth. Their DNA shares striking similarities with Bronze Age populations from the British Isles, Scandinavia, and even the Celts. This isn't just a case of a few wanderers, it's evidence of an entire lost culture that somehow bridged east and west long before historians thought possible. The mummies' belongings deepen the mystery. Some were buried with intricate baskets, wheeled carts, and cheese. Yes, cheese still clinging to their necks in leather pouches. The cheese-making technique matches practices found in Europe at the time, suggesting these weren't just travelers but settlers who brought their traditions with them. Even their textiles defy expectations. One mummy, the so-called Beauty of Lulan, wears a finely woven tunic with patterns resembling those found in ancient Anatolia, thousands of miles to the west. But here's the twist: despite their European roots, these people weren't conquerors. Their settlements show no signs of warfare or fortifications, just peaceful farming communities thriving in an unforgiving desert. So how did they get there? One theory points to the Afanasevo culture, nomadic herders who migrated eastward from the steppes of modern-day Russia around 3000 BC. Their DNA matches the Tarim mummies closely, but the timeline raises questions. The Afanasevo were thought to have vanished centuries before the Tarim people emerged. Could a splinter group have journeyed farther, surviving in isolation? Other researchers propose a maritime connection, ancient seafarers skirting the Arctic coast before moving south into China. It sounds far-fetched, but artifacts like boat-shaped coffins and fishbone ornaments hint at a culture intimately tied to water, despite being found in one of Earth's driest places. The implications are seismic. For decades, historians assumed East and West had minimal contact before the rise of Rome and Han China. The Tarim mummies prove otherwise. They suggest a hidden chapter of human movement where Bronze Age Europeans traversed unimaginable distances, blending their genes and customs with distant lands. Yet their story ends abruptly. By the time the Silk Road flourished, their descendants had vanished, absorbed or displaced by later waves of migration. Their legacy survives only in those silent, sun-baked corpses, ghosts of a forgotten bridge between worlds, waiting for us to piece together their journey. Deep within the temple of Hathor at Dendera, a series of cryptic carvings adorn the walls. One in particular stands out as a lightning rod for controversy. Etched into the stone, a strange scene unfolds. A large, elongated object resembling a glass bulb, complete with what looks like a filament snaking inside, connected by a twisting cable to a box held by a kneeling figure. To modern eyes, it's uncanny, a near-perfect depiction of an electric light bulb thousands of years before Edison's invention. But is this really proof of ancient electricity, or just a case of our minds projecting modern technology onto sacred symbolism? Egyptologists have a straightforward explanation. The so-called Dendera light is actually a symbolic representation of a lotus flower sprouting from a snake, a motif tied to creation myths and the god Harsamtis. The filament is interpreted as a serpent emerging from the lotus, while the cable mirrors the winding form of a cosmic snake. The entire tableau, they argue, illustrates spiritual concepts: the birth of light from chaos, the cycle of life and rebirth. Yet this interpretation doesn't satisfy everyone. Skeptics of the mainstream view point to the carving's precise, almost technical details. Why would ancient artists painstakingly carve what looks like an insulated cable or a bulb's base if they meant to depict a flower? The resemblance is so striking that even engineers have weighed in, noting the bulb even has what appear to be support filaments, eerily similar to early 20th century designs. The debate takes on new dimensions when you consider the Baghdad battery. Could these two artifacts be connected, evidence of a lost understanding of electricity? Proponents of the ancient tech theory argue the Dendera carving might depict a device powered by such batteries, used to illuminate temples or underground chambers. They highlight the absence of soot in certain Egyptian tombs, suggesting alternative light sources. But critics counter with a simple question: where are the physical remains? If the Egyptians had light bulbs, why haven't we found shattered glass, wire fragments, or even mentions in their meticulous records? What's often lost in this clash of theories is the ingenuity of Egyptian symbolism itself. Whether it's a sacred flower or a literal lamp, the carving reflects a society deeply attuned to the natural world's mysteries. The lotus, after all, blooms with the sunrise, a living metaphor for light emerging from darkness. Maybe the real power of the Dendera carving isn't in proving ancient technology, but in reminding us how skillfully the past communicates its wonders, whether through myth, science, or something in between. The truth might not be as flashy as a light bulb, but it's no less illuminating. Breaking every assumption about early human achievement, Göbekli Tepe stands atop a windswept hill in Turkey like a silent revolution in stone. This sprawling complex of carved pillars, some weighing over 16 tons and towering 16 feet high, predates Stonehenge by 6,000 years and agriculture itself by at least a millennium. Built around 9,600 BC by nomadic hunter-gatherers, at least according to mainstream archaeology, its very existence forces us to ask, how could people without permanent settlements, without farming, without even pottery, orchestrate such a colossal feat of engineering? The pillars themselves are a gallery of prehistoric art. Intricate reliefs of lions, scorpions, and vultures coil around the stone, their craftsmanship rivaling sculptures from civilizations 3,000 years younger. Even more startling, the site wasn't built in one era but in layers, with older structures deliberately buried under new ones, a practice suggesting ritual significance spanning generations. But here's the dilemma: hunter-gatherer societies typically don't invest in monumental architecture. They follow food sources, leaving little permanent trace. So what compelled these people to quarry, carve, and erect these megaliths instead? One radical theory proposes Göbekli Tepe wasn't built by hunter-gatherers at all, but by a lost advanced culture wiped from history. Proponents point to the pillars' precise astronomical alignments, matching constellations as they appeared 12,000 years ago. The site's T-shaped pillars, some argue, resemble stylized human forms, hinting at a sophisticated belief system. Could this have been the work of a forgotten society that mastered stonemasonry before the last ice age ended? Mainstream archaeologists push back, noting the absence of metal tools or any other technology beyond the Neolithic toolkit. Then there's the game-changing twist. Recent soil analysis suggests Göbekli Tepe might not just predate agriculture, it could have sparked it. Evidence of early wheat domestication nearby hints that the temple's gatherings may have created a need for large-scale food production. Imagine it: hunter-gatherers congregating for rituals, straining local wild resources, and inadvertently setting the stage for farming. If true, Göbekli Tepe didn't just defy the timeline of civilization, it helped write it. What lingers in these ruins isn't just mystery, but a profound question about human motivation. Did spirituality drive innovation, or was it the other way around? As excavations continue, each unearthed pillar chips away at the neat chronology we've built for our past. Göbekli Tepe doesn't just ask us to rethink history, it dares us to imagine how much we've still got wrong. Stretching across the misty fields of Brittany, France, the Karnak stones form one of the most puzzling prehistoric landscapes on Earth. Over 3,000 megaliths stand in eerie, near-perfect rows, some towering 12 feet high, others worn low by millennia of wind and rain. Unlike the clustered circles of Stonehenge, these stones march across the countryside like a petrified army, their purpose lost to time. But one thing is certain: their arrangement is no accident. The precision of their alignment suggests a sophistication that challenges everything we thought we knew about Neolithic societies. Among the wildest theories is that the stones functioned as an ancient earthquake detector. Geophysicists have noted that the megaliths sit atop fault lines, and their placement could amplify subtle seismic vibrations. Some researchers speculate that hollows carved into certain stones might have held water, with tremors causing ripples that served as early warning signals. It's a tantalizing idea, especially given Brittany's history of seismic activity. But critics argue there's no direct evidence linking the stones to quakes, just compelling coincidence. Then there's the celestial angle. Several rows align with the solstice sunrises and sunsets, while others point to key lunar standstills. Could the Karnak stones be a sprawling astronomical calendar, tracking seasons or even longer cosmic cycles? The sheer scale of the site suggests coordination beyond a single village, perhaps a regional gathering place where knowledge of the skies was etched into the land itself. But here's the twist. Unlike other megalithic sites tied to specific stars or planets, Karnak's patterns don't neatly match any known celestial map. Some researchers propose the stones encode a forgotten system, a way of reading the heavens that modern astronomy hasn't deciphered. Recent excavations only deepen the mystery. Ground-penetrating radar has revealed hundreds more stones buried just beneath the surface, hinting at a far more extensive complex than previously imagined. Worse yet, local legends speak of a cursed section where digging is said to unleash misfortune, a superstition that, whether coincidence or not, has left some areas untouched. What secrets lie beneath those unbroken layers? Farmers in the region still occasionally plow up carved fragments, silent witnesses to a civilization that mastered geometry, astronomy, and possibly even geology, yet left no written record of how or why. Standing among these stones, you're left with an unsettling thought. We might never fully grasp the minds behind their creation. Were they sacred pathways, astronomical calculators, or something even more profound? The Karnak stones defy easy answers, and that's precisely what makes them unforgettable. Every unearthed fragment, every new alignment discovered, is a whisper from a world that understood the earth and sky in ways we're only beginning to fathom. Off the coast of Japan's Yonaguni Island lies a structure that bends reality, a massive, stepped formation stretching 270 feet long, rising 90 feet from the ocean floor, its flat terraces and sharp angles looking eerily like a sunken pyramid. Discovered in 1986 by a diver searching for hammerhead shark viewing spots, the Yonaguni monument has sparked a firestorm of debate. Is this the ruins of an ancient lost city, or simply a quirk of nature playing tricks on our imagination? Proponents of the man-made theory point to uncanny features. The monument's clean, 90-degree angles and precise staircases seem too deliberate to be random erosion. Marine geologist Masaki Kimura has spent decades documenting what he believes are tool marks, carved channels, and even a humanoid face etched into the stone. He argues the structure resembles ceremonial platforms found in Okinawan castles, suggesting it could be part of the lost civilization of Mu, a Pacific counterpart to Atlantis. Even more compelling, nearby underwater surveys have uncovered what appear to be paved roads, stone circles, and a massive archway, all seemingly part of a larger complex. But skeptics have a different take. Geologists like Robert Schoch argue the formation is entirely natural, a classic example of sandstone fracturing along bedding planes, shaped by strong currents and tectonic activity. They note similar formations exist worldwide, from Ireland's Giant's Causeway to California's Devil's Postpile, all created without human intervention. The steps could simply be the result of softer rock layers eroding faster than harder ones, a process called differential weathering. As for the so-called tool marks, they might just be the scars of coral and mollusks feeding on the rock over centuries. What makes this debate so fascinating is the gray area in between. Some researchers propose a middle ground, that Yonaguni began as a natural formation but was later modified by humans. Ancient cultures often enhanced natural landmarks for ritual purposes, like Peru's Kenko or India's Barabar caves. Could the monument have been a sacred site, its existing geometry refined by prehistoric hands? Diver surveys have recovered no artifacts, but the surrounding waters hide another clue. Submerged stalactites found in underwater caves nearby prove this area was above sea level until at least 8,000 years ago, long before recorded history. The truth might lie in the details. Close examination shows some perfect angles aren't quite symmetrical, and the stairs vary in height, flaws you wouldn't expect from deliberate builders. Yet the overall impression is undeniably architectural. Whether natural, man-made, or something in between, Yonaguni forces us to confront how easily our eyes can see intention in randomness, and how much of humanity's past might still be hidden beneath the waves, waiting for the right tide to reveal it. Off the coast of Nova Scotia, hidden beneath the dense forests of Oak Island, lies a hole in the ground that has consumed fortunes, lives, and dreams for over 2 centuries. The so-called Money Pit was first discovered in 1795 by a teenager named Daniel Maginnis, who spotted strange lights on the island and unearthed a circular depression lined with flagstones, an obvious sign of human handiwork. What he didn't know was that this pit would ignite one of history's longest, most obsessive treasure hunts. Initial digs revealed layers of oak logs at precise 10-foot intervals, mixed with coconut fiber, a material nowhere near native to Canada. Then came the flood tunnels. At 90 feet down, excavators hit a stone slab inscribed with cryptic symbols, and the shaft suddenly filled with seawater, as if the pit itself were fighting back. This wasn't just a buried chest. The design screamed of deliberate, almost paranoid engineering. Whoever built it had woven a labyrinth of linked tunnels, allowing the ocean to rush in the moment treasure hunters breached a certain depth. Some believe it's the work of pirates like Captain Kidd, who supposedly confessed on the gallows to hiding riches, where none but Satan himself could find it. Others argue the pit is far too sophisticated for mere buccaneers, pointing to the Knights Templar, who may have smuggled sacred relics like the Ark of the Covenant or even Shakespeare's lost manuscripts here after fleeing persecution. The theories spiral into the absurd. Some claim it's Marie Antoinette's jewels, while others whisper of Francis Bacon's secret writings proving he penned Shakespeare's plays. Modern technology has only deepened the intrigue. Sonar scans reveal caverns beneath the island, while dye tests prove the flood tunnels connect directly to the ocean. In 2014, a drilling team extracted a 14th century Spanish copper coin and a scrap of parchment with ink tantalizing but far from conclusive. The real twist: the deeper we dig, the more the pit seems to taunt us. Artifacts appear, then vanish. Tunnels collapse, equipment fails. 6 lives have been lost to the pit's watery traps, lending weight to the local curse that 7 must die before the treasure is revealed. What makes Oak Island unique isn't just the treasure. It's the psychological grip it holds. Generations of hunters, from Franklin Roosevelt to the Lagina brothers of the Curse of Oak Island fame, have poured millions into the search, driven by equal parts greed and obsession. The pit's layers mirror human nature itself. Each discovery feels like the final clue, only to reveal another layer of mystery. Whether it's gold or just an elaborate prank, one thing's certain: the money pit isn't just hiding treasure. It's hiding the reason we can't stop looking. Scattered across the rugged highlands of northern Laos, thousands of massive stone jars lie half buried in the earth, some standing taller than a person, others weighing as much as 14 tons. Known as the Plain of Jars, this enigmatic archaeological site stretches over hundreds of square miles, with clusters of these colossal vessels arranged in mysterious groupings. Carved from solid sandstone and granite, their origins trace back over 2,000 years, yet no one knows for certain who crafted them or why. The most widely accepted theory ties the jars to ancient burial practices. Excavations have uncovered human remains, burial goods, and ceramic fragments near the jars, suggesting they might have served as funerary urns or vessels for decomposing bodies before secondary burial. Some researchers propose they were used to collect rainwater for ritual purification of the dead, while others speculate they stored fermented rice wine for elaborate funeral feasts. But here's the puzzle: the jars vary wildly in size and shape, with some ornately carved and others left rough. If they were part of a single funerary tradition, why such inconsistency? Local legends offer a far more dramatic explanation. The jars were the work of giants. Folklore tells of a race of enormous beings who ruled the region long ago, crafting the vessels to brew rice beer for their legendary celebrations. Though dismissed as myth, the sheer scale of the jars does raise questions. How did Neolithic peoples without metal tools or advanced machinery quarry, carve, and transport such massive stones across mountainous terrain? Some jars were dragged from quarries miles away, a feat that would require coordination and labor beyond what we typically attribute to ancient Southeast Asian societies. Complicating the mystery is a grim modern reality: unexploded bombs. During the Vietnam War, the U.S. dropped over 2 million tons of ordnance on Laos, leaving the Plain of Jars one of the most heavily contaminated places on Earth. Decades later, buried cluster munitions still litter the landscape, making large-scale archaeological excavations perilous. Only a handful of jar sites have been safely cleared for study, meaning the vast majority remain untouched, their secrets locked beneath the soil, guarded by the deadly remnants of war. What little we've uncovered only deepens the intrigue. Strange carvings depicting human figures and geometric patterns adorn some jars, while others show signs of being deliberately broken or moved. Were they part of a vast necropolis, a network of ritual sites, or something even older? A relic of a forgotten civilization that thrived here before recorded history. Until more research can be done safely, the Plain of Jars will keep its secrets, a haunting testament to the gaps in our understanding of the ancient world. Standing among these silent sentinels, you can't help but wonder, what stories would they tell if they could speak? In the heart of Death Valley, where the desert heat shimmers like a mirage, lies one of nature's most baffling performances: the sailing stones of Racetrack Playa. These boulders, some weighing hundreds of pounds, leave long, meandering trails etched into the cracked mud, as if they've slithered across the landscape of their own accord. For decades, this phenomenon defied explanation, spawning wild theories from magnetic anomalies to alien pranks, until science finally cracked the case in the 21st century. The answer, it turns out, was hiding in plain sight: ice. Time-lapse photography and GPS tracking revealed the secret during a rare winter event. When shallow flooding covers the playa and nighttime temperatures plummet, thin sheets of ice form on the water's surface. As the sun rises, the ice fractures into vast floating panels pushed by gentle winds. These ice rafts nudge the rocks forward at a glacial pace, their movement invisible to the naked eye but leaving indelible scars on the mud below. The mystery seemed solved until researchers noticed something unsettling. Among the fresh, wind-driven trails are older, deeper grooves that don't fit the ice sheet model. Some zigzag abruptly at angles too sharp for the ice's slow drift. Others carve paths far heavier than any modern stone could produce. These ancient tracks suggest another force was at work long before scientists set up their cameras. Could there have been a second, more violent mechanism, one lost to time? Geologists point to Death Valley's turbulent past. Tens of thousands of years ago, the region was a labyrinth of lakes and rivers, a far cry from today's parched expanse. During flash floods, torrents of water may have surged across the playa, carrying rocks with enough force to gouge the deeper trails. Alternatively, earthquake tremors, common in this seismically active zone, might have jolted the stones into motion, shaking them free of the mud's grip. The playa's surface, slick with rain, could have let them slide like curling stones on a sheet of ice. Yet the strangest detail isn't how the stones move, it's how rarely it happens. Most boulders sit motionless for decades, even centuries, waiting for the perfect alchemy of water, wind, and temperature. When conditions align, the desert stage lights up and the rocks begin their slow ballet. Then, just as suddenly, the show ends, the water evaporates, the mud hardens, and the stones fall silent, their trails hardening into cryptic signatures for future generations to ponder. What remains is a humbling reminder. Even in our age of satellites and sensors, nature still holds cards close to its chest. The sailing stones teach us that some mysteries yield to patience and technology, while others lurk in the shadows, daring us to look deeper. The Playa's oldest trails whisper of forces we've yet to witness, of a world that moved differently when humans weren't watching. And that's the real magic, not just solving the puzzle, but realizing how many pieces are still missing. For centuries, the Hanging Gardens of Babylon have been celebrated as one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world, a lush, terraced paradise of exotic plants and waterfalls said to have been built by King Nebuchadnezzar II for his homesick wife. But here's the twist: despite their fame, archaeologists have found zero physical evidence of these gardens in Babylon. Not a single carving, not a trace of irrigation systems, not even a mention in Babylonian records. The only detailed accounts come from Greek historians like Strabo and Diodorus Siculus, writing centuries after the gardens supposedly existed. So where were they if not in Babylon? A radical theory points to Nineveh, the capital of Assyria. Ancient texts describe Assyrian king Sennacherib constructing an elaborate garden system in the early 7th century BCE, complete with aqueducts, water screws, and terraced plantations. His palace inscriptions boast of a wonder for all peoples, with exotic trees and vines cascading down stepped platforms, irrigated by a sophisticated network of canals. Even more compelling, archaeologists have uncovered remnants of these engineering feats at Nineveh, including an aqueduct system that matches descriptions of the garden's waterworks. Could the Greeks have confused the two cities, transplanting Sennacherib's marvel into Nebuchadnezzar's Babylon through centuries of retellings? The case grows stronger when you examine the logistical hurdles. Babylon's arid climate and lack of natural water sources would have made maintaining such a garden nearly impossible without staggering amounts of imported water. Nineveh, on the other hand, sat near the Tigris River and had advanced hydraulic technology, precisely the kind needed to sustain towering greenery. Even the descriptions of the garden's layout, with their arched walkways and stone terraces, align better with Assyrian architecture than Babylonian. Yet the mystery deepens when you consider why no Babylonian records mention the gardens. Nebuchadnezzar's own inscriptions meticulously detail his building projects, temples, palaces, even the famed Ishtar Gate, but remain silent on this supposed masterpiece. Some historians argue the gardens might have been a symbolic invention, a romantic ideal of Eastern opulence conjured by Greek travelers. Others propose they were real but destroyed so utterly, perhaps during the Persian conquest, that nothing survived. What's undeniable is the power of this legend. Whether rooted in Nineveh, Babylon, or pure imagination, the Hanging Gardens endure because they represent something timeless. Humanity's yearning to carve beauty out of barrenness, to defy nature itself in the name of wonder. Until new evidence surfaces, their true location remains a ghost in the historical record, one that challenges us to question not just where they were, but why we so desperately want them to be real. Among the fragile parchment scrolls discovered near the Dead Sea, one stands apart, not for its religious teachings, but for what it promises: unimaginable wealth. The copper scroll, unlike its leather-bound companions, is exactly what its name suggests: sheets of oxidized copper, etched with a list of 64 locations where staggering quantities of gold, silver, and sacred artifacts were supposedly buried. Translated in the 1950s after being painstakingly cut open, its contents read like a treasure hunter's fever dream. Precise weights are given: over 600 talents of silver here, nearly 200 bars of gold there, along with cryptic directions to caves, cisterns, and even the shadow of a pillar with 2 tombs. But here's what makes this scroll truly unique. While the other Dead Sea Scrolls speak of spiritual battles and divine laws, this one is purely material. It's an inventory, a ledger, a map without a key. Why copper? The choice of material is the first clue. Unlike parchment, which decays, copper endures. Whoever crafted this scroll wanted it to last, suggesting the treasures weren't just symbolic, they were real and meant to be recovered. But by whom? Some scholars believe this could be the lost inventory of the Second Temple's riches, hidden before the Romans sacked Jerusalem in 70 CE. The scroll's references to the Valley of Achor and the Mount of Olives align with known temple locations, while the quantities match historical accounts of the priesthood's wealth. Others argue the language is too vague, the directions too poetic, more allegory than actual geography. Could this be a sacred text in disguise, its treasures representing spiritual rewards rather than physical gold? The hunt for the scroll's loot has been obsessive and futile. Expeditions have scoured the Judean desert for decades, following every possible interpretation of its clues. In 1962, archaeologist John Allegro led a team based on the scroll's descriptions, digging near the Qumran caves where the scrolls were found. They unearthed nothing but sand and disappointment. Modern technologies like ground-penetrating radar and satellite imaging have turned up empty too. This raises two unsettling possibilities. Either the treasures were looted centuries ago, slipping through history's fingers, or they never existed at all. Then there's the scroll's eerie postscript. The final entry mentions a duplicate document, an identical copy buried elsewhere, possibly containing clarifying details. If found, it could crack the code, but like everything else about this enigma, its whereabouts remain a mystery. The copper scroll doesn't just taunt us with lost gold. It challenges our very understanding of the Dead Sea Scrolls' purpose. Were they all sacred, or were some meant to be practical, their secrets literal rather than divine? Until someone digs up a hoard of temple silver or stumbles upon that second scroll, we're left with a tantalizing paradox. The only treasure we're certain of is the mystery itself. Rising abruptly from the red clay of rural Georgia, the towering slabs of granite known as the Georgia Guidestones stood for decades as one of modern history's most cryptic monuments. Erected in 1980 under mysterious circumstances, the 19-foot-tall structure bore 10 commandments etched in 8 languages, a stark set of instructions for rebuilding civilization after an apocalyptic event. The messages ranged from pragmatic, maintain humanity under 500 million in perpetual balance with nature, to eerily prescient, guide reproduction wisely, improving fitness and diversity. But the real enigma wasn't just the words, it was the anonymity of their author. The stones appeared suddenly, commissioned by a man using the pseudonym R.C. Christian, who claimed to represent a small group loyal to the Age of Reason. Working through an Elberton bank, he paid in cash, leaving no paper trail. The precision of the monument only deepened the intrigue. The slabs functioned as an astronomical calendar, with holes aligned to track the sun's solstices and equinoxes, while a slot in the central pillar framed the North Star. This wasn't just a message, it was a functional tool designed to outlast its creators. Conspiracy theorists quickly wove elaborate narratives, linking the stones to everything from Illuminati schemes to alien intervention. But historians noted striking parallels to earlier movements like the Rosicrucians, secretive Enlightenment-era groups who blended science and mysticism. The controversy reached a fever pitch in 2022 when the Guidestones were obliterated in a pre-dawn explosion, an act of vandalism later claimed by conspiracy-fueled extremists. Authorities hastily demolished the remnants, citing safety concerns, but the timing raised eyebrows. Just months earlier, the monument had been vandalized with spray-painted warnings like "Death to the New World Order." Was its destruction an attempt to silence its message, or merely the climax of decades of paranoia? What lingers isn't just the mystery of who built the guidestones, but why their vision provoked such visceral fear. In an era of climate crises and social fractures, their commandments, especially the call to balance population and resources, read less like dystopian fiction and more like uncomfortable truths. The stones forced us to confront questions we'd rather ignore. What rules would we set for a post-collapse world, and who gets to decide? Their ghost lingers in the Georgia soil, a Rorschach test for our deepest anxieties about control, survival, and who holds the keys to the future. On June 30th, 1908, a blast ripped through the skies above Siberia with the force of 1,000 Hiroshima bombs, flattening 800 square miles of forest, snapping trees like matchsticks, and shaking seismographs as far away as England. The Tunguska event remains one of history's most violent cosmic mysteries, yet what's even stranger are the echoes of this catastrophe in ancient myths from cultures that could never have known each other. Take the oral traditions of the Native American Hopi people, who speak of a fiery sky god called Sotaknang destroying the first world with a great conflagration from the heavens, a purge so complete it forced humanity to rebuild underground. Then there's the Hindu epic the Mahabharata, where the god Shiva is described unleashing a pillar of fire so bright it outshone the sun, reducing cities to ash in an instant. Skeptics dismiss these as mere allegories, but the parallels are unnerving. The Mahabharata even details blast effects eerily similar to Tunguska. Trees reduced to stumps, birds incinerated mid-flight, survivors reporting burns as if scorched by invisible flames. Modern astronomers have a plausible explanation: airbursts. When a meteor or comet explodes in the atmosphere, it can unleash shockwaves without leaving a crater, exactly what happened in Siberia. Could ancient cultures have witnessed similar events? Geological evidence supports this. Impact craters in India's Lonar Lake and the Carolina Bays in the United States suggest regional cataclysms within human memory. The Hopi's description of stars falling like rain aligns with meteor showers, while the Mahabharata's blazing chariot could mirror the fireball observed over Tunguska. But here's where it gets speculative. Some researchers propose these weren't random impacts but fragments from a larger, cyclical threat like the Taurid meteor stream, which crosses Earth's orbit every few millennia. Ancient astronomers might have tracked these patterns, encoding warnings in myth. Others argue the descriptions are too precise for coincidence. The Hopi's sky god allegedly struck at dawn, just like the Siberian explosion, while Hindu texts mention a light that left no shadow, reminiscent of a nuclear flash. Then there's the wild card: human technology. Nikola Tesla's experiments with wireless energy transmission in the early 20th century sparked rumors he'd accidentally triggered Tunguska. While mainstream science dismisses this, it raises a provocative question: could earlier civilizations have stumbled upon and lost similar knowledge? The Sanskrit text Agastya Samhita details a device called the Mirror of Death that could focus sunlight into a weapon, while Greek legends speak of Archimedes' heat ray, igniting ships with reflected beams. What unites these threads is the primal fear they tap into: the terror of something falling from the sky beyond our control. Whether Tunguska was a meteor, a Tesla mishap, or something even stranger, its shadow stretches further back in time than we ever imagined. These myths aren't just stories, they're survival manuals etched in fire across generations. And that's the real lesson: the sky remembers what we've forgotten. These mysteries don't just defy explanation, they rewrite history. Every unexplained artifact, every vanished civilization, every impossible structure forces us to ask, how much of the past have we truly pieced together? The gaps in our textbooks aren't just empty spaces, they're doorways to worlds we've barely begun to imagine. Whether it's the precision of the Antikythera Mechanism or the haunting silence of the Plain of Jars, these enigmas remind us that human ingenuity stretches far beyond what we've been taught. Our ancestors weren't just primitive, they were pioneers, their knowledge sometimes rivaling, even surpassing our own. So which mystery haunts you the most? Is it the submerged ruins of Yonaguni, the echoing halls of the Longyu caves, or something else entirely? Drop your thoughts in the comments, we're just scratching the surface. The deeper we dig, the more questions we uncover, and that's the real thrill of exploration. History isn't a closed book, it's a living puzzle, and every discovery reshapes the story. This journey doesn't end here. From lost cities buried beneath jungles to artifacts that defy the timeline of human achievement, there are countless enigmas still waiting in the shadows. If you're hooked on these ancient riddles, make sure to subscribe because the past has more secrets to spill, and we're just getting started, who knows? The next breakthrough could be just one click away.